everyone, I'm Lulu from Plants by Lulu and welcome on my channel. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and let's go. Today is another PLOOKS, plants and books, and I'm very excited. Small disclaimer, I am not combining the plants and books based on my personal favorites ranking. I am combining them in a way that my experience with the plant is aligned with my experience with the book, or like the storyline of the book. So the book I have chosen for this episode is Night Sky with Exit Wounds from Ocean Vuong. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This is a poetry book. Why I've chosen this one is because the last book was kind of heavy-hearted, and while poetry can also be heavy-hearted, especially from Vuong, I really think poetry does something beautiful, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So I will read first something about the book and then about Vuong. An extraordinary debut from a young Vietnamese American, Night Sky with Exit Wounds is a book of poetry unlike any other. Steeped in war and cultural upheaval and wielding a fresh new language, Vuong writes about the most profound subjects: love and loss, conflict, grief, memory and desire, and attends to them all with lines that feel newly minted, graceful in their cadences, passionate and hungry in their tender, close attention. This is an unusual, important book, both gentle and visceral, vulnerable and assured, and its blend of humanity and power make it one of the best first collections of poetry to come out of America in years. Now something about Vuong. Ocean Vuong was born outside Saigon in 1998. At the age of 2, after a year in a refugee camp, he and his family arrived in the US. He is the first in his immediate family to learn how to read proficiently. A Ruth Lilly Fellow and winner of a Pushcart Prize, he has received honors and awards from Poets House and the Academy of American Poetry. Night Sky with Exit Wounds won the Whiting Award, the Thumb Gun Award, and the 2017 Forward Prize for Best First Collection. Ocean Vuong lives in Massachusetts. And as you can see at the front, he is winner of the T.S. Eliot Prize 2017, which T.S. Eliot is a famous poet. The first time it was published was in the US and the second time in the UK. The plant I'm going to pair it with is one that can look very differently, and I have this one. I hope you can see what it is. It is a type of Tillandsia. Basically, this is an air plant. Hello, focus on the plant, please. So, why did I pair those two together? The first reason is because when you have a poetry book, a lot of times there are only two ways to read it. One is to read it in one sitting, and the other one is to read every chapter or every poem as a piece of its own. So you read one poem and then you leave it, you kind of think about it, you let it marinate a bit, and then you come back to the book. That's why a lot of the times people will buy these, that it's the same generally for this plant, because you don't have to water it. You can dunk it once in water and then let it air dry upside down, or you spray it once in a while. And well, I'm kind of a chronic overwaterer most of the time with a lot of my plants. I sometimes really forget this one. And in the beginning I was very anxious to forget him, because I thought when I would forget him, he would die. Well, you can see it, but I have not tended to this one in over half a year, and that's just because I generally forgot him. But he's still alive. I will try to tend to him better, try not to forget him as much as I did. But you know, he can survive. And for your information, air plants get most of their water from the air. So that's why you don't really have to water them, but you have to spray them once in a while. So that's the first reason. The second reason goes into more detail of poems in general, but also how Vuong writes. What I found, and maybe it's because English is my second language, but especially with his poems, I have to read the poems multiple times, spaced out over a bit of time. And that's because his words have to marinate in my brain. And I don't have that a lot with reading books. I read from a young age and I still love reading. Hence, I make this series. But I never had to come back to a book or like to poems and reread them consciously just to understand the fullness of his sentences. How I am tying that into the plant is you can see the dead leaves poking out of. When I turn it, you can see all the dead leaves I have left on it. But this, in my eyes, is kind of through the process of caring for the plant or not caring for it, you get these dried up leaves. When you don't spray it, regularly, more leaves tend to brown, but it happens in the process. And for me, the fact that I have to come back and reread the sentence to grasp the full velocity of his words means my past understandings of those sentences have figuratively died. And it's not always that they have died. Sometimes you add on your past understandings. But generally, when you do that, you make a new combined understanding and leaving your past understandings in the past. So they figuratively died. That ties me into the next point, which is that there are different types of tillandsias. I'm not sure if that's the English pronunciation, but we pronounce them in Dutch like that. So tillandsias. And you have more curled ones, you have green ones, you have colorful ones, you have stringy ones. You have so much types of tillandsias that there is one for everybody. And in a sense, you also have that in a poetry collection. A book which is full of poetry, different types, different lengths. You have some that you like more than others, but it's still in this book. It's still a collection of all those things. It's still one. So those are my 3 reasons that all tie in together. I know this may be a short episode, but the fact that this one is a bit shorter also kind of ties in with poetry, where poetry is generally shorter than a whole book. These are the reasons why I choose this combination. If you have your own combinations or book or plant suggestions you want me to cover, leave that down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe and the like button, and I will see you in the next video. Doei!